In the city of Fairfield, in Ohio, in April 2012, a 15-year-old girl was found stabbed to death in a creek near her home. The girl was Chelsea Johnson. She was a freshman student at Fairfield Options Academy in Fairfield, Ohio. On Sunday, the 15th of April 2012, Chelsea left her Southgate Boulevard apartment around 11:30 a.m. and was then seen with her neighbor Tim Childs at the Ameristop on Nils Road. Muo Sal, a manager at the Ameristop on Nils Road near Johnson's residence, said Johnson had stopped in the store at about 12:30 p.m. Sal said she was with her neighbor, whom he had seen before, although he could not identify the man. That neighbor bought a prepaid phone card, and then he and Johnson left, and headed west on foot on Nils Road. On Monday the 16th of April, whilst helping with the search, Tim Childs, mom's boyfriend with his son found Chelsea's body near a creek by Creekside Village of Fairfield Apartments, between River Road and Pleasant Avenue, which was 9 miles from her home. Tim called 911. Chelsea, a sophomore who got good grades at Options Academy in Fairfield, had been reported missing to police 9 hours earlier. According to the autopsy, Chelsea was stabbed to death and there were no visible signs that she was sexually assaulted. She was found fully clothed wearing a red tie-dye shirt and black shorts, minus her black flip-flops. A cell phone was found in the vicinity of where she was found and the Fairfield police said at the time they did not know who the phone belonged to.
Police in Fairfield are looking for a killer tonight, while a family mourns the loss of a 15-year-old girl who was found stabbed to death in a creek. 9 News reporter Bryce Onslinger is here now with the latest on the investigation. Bryce?
Well, Carol, police have released little information into the murder of Chelsea Johnson. We know she was stabbed to death between Sunday afternoon and when her body was found Monday evening.
911, what is your emergency?
Can you please get an ambulance to Heritage Glen real quick, please?
What's the problem, sir?
I have a body in the creek.
You have a body in the creek at Heritage
Yes,
Glen?
I have a little girl's body in the creek. Please, hurry up and get the
Sir, what building are you behind?
Abandoned, a whole bunch of abandoned buildings. Please.
You can hear the terror in the voice of the man that found 15-year-old Chelsea Johnson Monday evening. She'd been stabbed to death and left in a creek bed about a mile from her Fairfield home. Johnson had been missing since Sunday.
I deserve to know what happened to her, you know. Please, do the right thing. Somebody needs to come forward.
Johnson's mother, Vicki Feibel, hopes someone can help investigators figure out who killed her daughter.
Don't be scared. It's only a 15-year-old girl, you know. It's a baby. She needs to. I need that closure.
Johnson told her mother that she was going to a nearby Ameristop store Sunday morning. Employees saw Johnson at the store at around noon. Feibel says she learned after her daughter had been missing for 24 hours that she was also planning to go fishing in the creek where her body was found. Feibel says she knew something was wrong when she came home from work Sunday evening and couldn't get a hold of her daughter.
Because I kept calling, and that's not like her. She always calls me, always texts me, let me know where she's at, what's going on, you know. And when I called and left 4 messages, and she never responded, I knew something bad had happened.
Almost a year prior to Chelsea's murder, 22-year-old art student Caitlin Markham disappeared from her home on Dorshire Drive in Fairfield, which was very close to where Chelsea Johnson's body was found. Caitlin's boyfriend called 911 on August 14, 2011 and reported her missing. Caitlin also did not show up for work and left her purse, keys and her dog behind. Police and volunteers spent months looking for her after she vanished. On April 7, 2013, 2 years after Caitlin disappeared, her skeletal remains were discovered off Big Cedar Road, near Cedar Grove, Indiana, which was roughly 40 minutes west of Fairfield, Ohio. Her exact cause of death could not be determined. 9.5 years later, 2 arrests were made in connection to her murder. On February 17, 2023, the first arrest in connection to Markham's death was that of 35-year-old Jonathan Palmerton. Palmerton is charged with perjury for allegedly lying in connection with the investigation. Then on March 22, 2023, John Carter, Markham's fiancé in 2011, was arrested for her murder. As of April 3, 2023, the $1 million surety bond was posted for him.
Breaking news right now out of Butler County. The fiance of Caitlin Markham is now in custody and charged in her murder. Thanks for staying with us at 5:30. I'm Cherie Palello.
And I'm Mike Dardis. The arrest coming more than a decade after Markham disappeared in Fairfield. Butler County Prosecutor Mike Moser confirming to WLWT John Carter taken into custody today, arrested on 2 counts of murder. 21-year-old Caitlin disappearing from her home back in Fairfield in 2011. Her body found in Cedar Grove, Indiana, 2 years later. Just last month, we spoke with Caitlin's father, who told us he's hopeful investigators were a step closer to figuring out what happened and who's responsible for his daughter's death. And he just spoke he spoke after 35-year-old Jonathan Palmerton was indicted on a perjury case, accused of lying to detectives during a legal proceeding about the Markham investigation. And just moments ago, we spoke with Markham's father, Dave. He says he's not surprised with who was arrested today. So here's part of the conversation we just had with him.
I haven't actually had time to talk to my family a whole lot. I think they're holding up great. They're ecstatic that this has finally happened, and I believe that all of them are not surprised about who was arrested for her murder.
It's still possible that the Caitlin Markham killer is the same person who killed Chelsea Johnson. Although no cause of death was determined in the Caitlin Markham case, and the information the public found out was that Chelsea Jordan had been stabbed to death. It's quite possible both are connected because of where Chelsea's body was found and where Caitlin Markham lived around the time she disappeared. In June 2012, a new person of interest was mentioned in the news media as 24-year-old George Donald Davis II. Davis was held on possible charges for offering heroin to 15-year-old Chelsea Johnson in exchange for sex on the day she went missing. Police had evidence from both Chelsea's cell phone and Davis's cell phone, and investigators said Davis knew the Johnson family. Davis was eventually charged with trafficking in heroin, importuning and attempting to compel prostitution, and pled guilty to the charges, avoiding a trial. In September 2012, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Davis wasn't named a suspect in Johnson's slaying, but he was questioned about her death. His attorney spoke for Davis and said George had nothing to do with Chelsea's murder. The grandfather of Chelsea Johnson, Phil Johnson, believed that Davis might be directly involved or knew who was. He said, "As a personal opinion, I don't believe in coincidences. He was the last person to text to my granddaughter at 6, and the coroner determined she was murdered shortly after that. He's either directly involved, in my opinion, or knows who is." In September 2021, Donna Sparks, a 27-year-old Fairfield woman, and 33-year-old George Donald Davis II, also of Fairfield, were sentenced in relation to the charges involving a botched robbery which turned into murder in Lockland, Ohio, which occurred in the early morning hours of May 10, 2020. Muhammad Njai was the victim, who was shot dead in his home, and his dog was also killed in the incident. Donna Sparks pled guilty to manslaughter and armed robbery charges and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. George Davis was charged with felony murder, felonious assault, aggravated robbery, and a weapons charge, and at a bench trial he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for those charges. Roughly 3 months after Chelsea was murdered, another person was found deceased in the same creek on Pleasant Avenue. On August 30, 2012, 19-year-old Joseph William Oakley was found shot to death in the creek near the Creekside Apartments off Brookfield Drive. The body was discovered at about 7 a.m. by a maintenance worker from the apartment complex. Police initially said there were no obvious signs of foul play and reported that Oakley had suffered a head laceration, but an autopsy revealed the gunshot wounds. Authorities said the wounds were caused by a small-caliber weapon, so they weren't seen by investigators until the autopsy was conducted. Officers said they found no connection between Oakley's death and the slaying of 15-year-old Chelsea Johnson. His mother Angela told News 5 he was last seen with his girlfriend when the couple left Oakley's grandmother's house. Joseph Oakley's case is still unsolved.
The death of 19-year-old Joseph William Oakley has now been ruled a homicide. Officials say the Fairfield teenager sustained multiple gunshot wounds to the head. Oakley's body was discovered in a creek yesterday morning, just a few hundred feet away from where 15-year-old Chelsea Johnson's body was found in April. Corey Stark has more from Fairfield.
At around 3 o'clock today, the Butler County coroner ruled the death of 19-year-old Joseph William Oakley to be a homicide. As you can see behind me, police have roped off this area once again as they continue their investigation. Meanwhile, family of Oakley are still in shock.
Joey was very loved. He had a lot of friends, and they're going to all miss Joey.
Joey Oakley's mother, Angela, doesn't know who murdered her son, but believes someone does.
Someone has to know something. If they could just please come forward.
On Friday, police continued their investigation looking for any clues or evidence they might have missed. Police say Oakley was shot several times with a small caliber handgun.
The wounds weren't readily apparent when they were looked at the scene. It wasn't until they got to the coroner's office and actually did x-rays did they notice the bullets.
Police say the bullets were found in Oakley's body. Police have no suspects at this time and are questioning several people who knew Oakley, including his longtime girlfriend, the person family members say was the last person to see Joey.
He left here with his girlfriend. She came back, and he never came back. At this point, that's all I know.
Police still have no reason to believe Oakley's murder and Chelsea Johnson's murder are connected, but are focused on stepping up patrols near the creek where both bodies were found, behind the Creekside Apartments.
I spoke this morning, as a matter of fact, of ways maybe to either clean it up or to make it less enticing for those kids to want to hang down there. So we're looking at doing something with that.
In September 2020, the Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost announced a new cold case unit that would take a look at Chelsea Johnson's case and 3 other local homicide victims.
That their loved ones' cases may get solved. Now, this comes after Ohio Attorney General David Yost launched a new unit digging deeper into cold cases. Brittany Harry's live at CPD headquarters right now with more on this new unit and how it's going to operate. I'm curious, Brittany, what's up?
Well, Tricia, yes, we are actually here at Cincinnati Police headquarters right now because Cincinnati Police, there is one case that this new unit is going to help try and crack, really, and the goal of this new unit is to try and crack even more cold cases. And unfortunately today, looking at the website, there are a lot of them. It's a new unit aimed at solving cold case homicides and unsolved sexual assault cases in Ohio. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost announced today the formation of a cold case unit that will be housed within Yost's Bureau of Criminal Investigation.
A lot of the cold case units around the country use strictly investigators to manually go back, look at files, and try to determine if they can make any headway in cold cases.
The cold case unit, we are told, will utilize a multidisciplinary approach while working with law enforcement agencies across the state to initiate a fresh look at unsolved cases. Strategies will be customized to each cold case.
We look at things like the lab and how do we tie DNA and chemistry, and then our intelligence unit, and of course the investigators in, and provide services to small, medium, and large departments to assist them in identifying cold case homicides and rapes.
Fox 19 has learned investigators will take a closer look at 4 local unsolved slayings as part of this new unit. 15-year-old Chelsea Johnson was stabbed to death in Fairfield in 2012. 46-year-old Herman Brown was found beaten to death inside his Westwood apartment in 2003. 18-year-old Raymond Wells III was found dead in the middle of a Sharonville street in 1999, and 19-year-old UC student Cheryl Thompson died at an unknown location in 1978. She was partially clothed and had been beaten and strangled. All of these cases remain unsolved.
With the advances in science today, with Y chromosome testing and with mitochondria testing and new DNA developments, it's become possible for us to identify victims that have been not identified for long periods of time. And those folks and their family deserve that.
11 years have passed and Chelsea's murder case remains unsolved. Hopefully a break in the case comes soon and that justice can be served.